All right, this video is for you if you're trying to build muscle, retain muscle, and lose fat, whatever it is, whichever goal, okay? It's not about just getting bigger to know that you're building muscle. How do you actually know that week to week that you're putting on quality muscle tissue? That's exactly what this video is gonna be about, because hopefully you know by now that using these DEXA scans or any sort of body fat calculating tool is not gonna be enough. So how do we accurately know, and how can you be confident that you're actually building or sustaining muscle? Let's find out. What's good, YouTube? It's Coach John back again, repping Beyond the Iron, where I drop weekly fitness content on this channel, helping you get to your goals faster and in a more enjoyable way. If you're interested in doing that, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and hit that like button. Before I dive into the content, I do want to mention that one-on-one coaching spots have opened up. You can go in the description below, click next to apply for one-on-one coaching. To apply, book a call with me and see if we'd be a good fit to work together to get you to your goals as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to follow my Instagram for other exclusive content. So like I mentioned at the beginning, body fat calculating tools are wildly inaccurate. Even the ones that are touted to be the most accurate, it's not saying much. So there has to be a way that we can actually be confident that we're building muscle mass, and there actually is. Obviously, that's why I'm making this video, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the different elements that you're going to need to figure out whether or not you're building muscle, okay? These are different things that we're gonna be tracking and monitoring. So a lot of you have heard this already if you've been watching my content. We need body weight, we need measurements, we need progress pictures, calories and macronutrients. We also need to monitor energy, hunger levels, and workout performance. Okay, we're gonna need all of these things. Now, if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't have like any of these, screw this. Well, you might wanna hold it right there and get to tracking these things, because if not, you're leaving a lot of gains on the table. I'm just gonna tell you that straight up. So I'm gonna break down each one of these elements as to how they can individually tell us if you're building muscle or sustaining it or not. And of course, I'm going to tell you how they all intertwine and interconnect to give us the most accurate, basically, assumption, the most accurate guess to where we can be almost 100% sure that we're building muscle. And at the end, I'm going to break down some examples that I think you might be able to fall into, or that could help you understand this a little bit better. So the first one is body weight. Okay, we need to measure body weight every single day, and we take weekly averages to compare week to week. Why? Because week to week is going to iron out the fluctuations you see on a day-to-day basis. Okay, cool. But here's the thing. Let's say you're trying to build muscle and you're in a gaining phase, so you're trying to be in a surplus, right? Well, if that body weight week to week is going up too quickly, then it's very, very likely that you're going to be putting on too much fat. On the flip side, if you're trying to lose fat and you want to retain as much muscle as possible, which is typically the goal, well, if you're going down too fast, it's going to be very, very likely that you have muscle you're going to be losing, or that you're putting some muscle up for sacrifice in a way. Okay, you're sacrificing this muscle to the god of gains. I'll take him for you though. That's why body weight and seeing week to week progress can tell us a lot on its own, but obviously it doesn't tell the whole story. So that's body weight, and it's very, very crucial. Next, we'll talk about measurements. Okay, so you got to measure different parts of your body, right? Like, let's say your arms, your shoulders, your waist, your thighs, okay? All of these different areas of your body. Now, here's the thing. Measurements alone can tell us a lot, because, for example, the measurement of your waist, if that's going up very quickly as you're in a surplus, like I mentioned before, if the body weight's increasing too fast and a lot of your inches are being gained around your stomach, well, it's pretty obvious that's probably not muscle. It's going to be mostly body fat. And as a result, if your arms aren't going up very fast, again, that's another indication that you're not gaining as much muscle and probably a little bit too much body fat. On the other hand, let's say you're trying to lose fat. If the inches are coming off on the extremities, but they're not really coming off on the waist nearly as quick, it could be a genetic factor, but it's also just indicative of the fact that you may not be retaining as much muscle in the extremities, okay, because these are more indicative of muscle gain, or around the shoulders, let's say, and the waist is staying the same, so you're not actually losing as much fat as you want, but you're losing total weight. So this is what happens when you lose, let's say 20 pounds, but you don't look much better. It's not the ideal scenario, right? So again, we wanna make sure that we're measuring these areas, because if our arms are staying the same or getting bigger, okay, and our waist is getting smaller and you're trying to cut, well, this is a very, very good sign that you're losing body fat, retaining muscle in the right areas, okay? If your legs are staying roughly the same or going down a lot slower than your waist, it's a good sign. Next, progress pictures, okay? Progress pictures you don't need daily or weekly for that matter. I personally recommend taking progress pictures monthly, okay? Because the visual differences you'll see are typically more noticeable month to month. Whereas if you're doing it week to week, you may be a little discouraged to see that you don't see much of a change week to week. But with that said, progress pictures are important because we can obviously visually see what is going on with our body month to month. So if you're losing fat, you'll visually see yourself getting smaller. Now the question is, where are you getting smaller? Are different areas getting leaner? And for these, you want to get certain progress pictures, not just one progress picture to the front. You might want to do a flex like this, right? You might want to do a side pose, a back pose relaxed, and a back pose flexed to actually show what muscles are popping. You want lower body progress pictures included, right? To see if you're making progress down there. So those are very important, of course. Next is workout performance. Workout performance is one of the most underrated and often the most neglected, I would say, out of all of these. And workout performance is key because, let's put it this way, mass follows strength. In other words, muscle follows strength. If your strength is going up, it's more indicative of the fact that you can potentially gain muscle as opposed to it going down, okay? People's strength does not go down if you're building muscle. Now, on an absolute scale, if you're trying to lose fat and you're in a deficit, your absolute strength might decrease on a lift. But relative to your body weight, it may stay the same or improve, right? If you drop 5 pounds of your body weight, but you only drop, let's say 1 rep on your main lift, that could be an increase of relative strength, okay? So when we're comparing workout performance, what we're really looking for is your relative strength levels. If relative strength is staying the same or increasing, it's more potential, more likelihood that there's muscle being retained or built over time. And of course, we have the classic calories and macros, right? These are so important because we want to know exactly what you're intaking, because all of these effects, all of these goals that we're after is going to be heavily reliant, the most reliant on what we're intaking on a consistent basis over time. So we want to see how much protein are you having, and then we can correlate that with the results you see in the mirror and the results you see in the measurements and on the scale and this, that, and the other, right? So protein levels, your carbs, are you having enough carbs? Fats, are you keeping a baseline of fats? Are you in a deficit or a surplus consistently? All these different things are going to be important. So you need to track calories and macros, and more so, you need to track them accurately. All right, so how does it all come together? Well, if we can put all these together, it would look something like this. We want to monitor your body weight week to week. So let's say body weight, your goal is to gain, okay? So this is an example as to how it all comes together. If your goal is to gain muscle and you're in a surplus, okay? Well, first, you need to know that you're in a surplus 2 ways. One is by tracking your calories. If calories are relatively high and you see it correlate on the scale week to week with improvements, then you're moving in the right direction in that case. But how do we know it's all muscle? We don't. It could be all fat. What do we look at? We look at protein. Is protein pretty good? Yes, good. Is rate of weight gain pretty slow and controlled? If yes, good. We're increasing likelihood that this is going to be muscle, but we're missing a lot of the formula. So now let's look at workouts. Is your relative strength increasing as your body weight is climbing slowly? Your lifts are climbing quickly? This is a good sign. Are your measurements going up while the waist measurement stays, let's say, the same or even gets smaller in some cases, but your arm measurement's going up? So your arm measurement increased, your waist didn't. Your bicep curl and your tricep push down strength in the gym has improved a lot, and your rate of weight gain is slow and controlled. It sounds to me like you're building muscle. The last factor is you look in the mirror, you see that your arms are a little bit bigger but not any less lean, for example. Combine all those factors together so your arms look bigger, they measure bigger, your waist isn't much bigger, you've been gaining weight at a slow, controlled pace, you've been eating enough protein, and you've been getting stronger in your bicep curls and tricep pushdowns, guess what? You're building muscle in your arms. I can safely say that, and so can you. And the same goes for any other body part as well, right? So that's a good example to show how it all comes together to give you basically 100% reassurance that you're making progress in the right direction. So that's how they all come together there. Another way, if you're trying to lose fat, right? I'll give you an example of me. When I did the Cutting Chronicles, which is, if you haven't seen the Cutting Chronicles episodes, I'll link it up here, the playlist. It is amazing. It is when I did my cut 2 years ago. And when I did, or was it this year? I don't remember when it was even. I think it was 2 years ago. I did DEXA scans. Yeah, I did DEXA scans, okay? So this was 2 years ago. And I started off with a DEXA scan. It told me I was 13% body fat, okay? And I was around 220 pounds when I started this cut. At the end of my cut, I was around 204 pounds. So I lost 15 pounds, right? I went to the DEXA scan, and the DEXA scan measured me in at somewhere around 11% body fat. So it's telling me I only lost 2%. If I only went off the DEXA scan, I would be convinced that I literally lost like 10 or 15 pounds of muscle mass in this process, okay? But luckily for me, and not luckily for the DEXA scan person, I tracked every single measurement. So when they told me that actually I had lost X amount of muscle, she said, well, how much protein did you eat? Well, that's funny that you ask. I have a record of me eating well over, or the exact amount of protein that I need every single day of the cut. Okay, well, what about your strength in the gym? Were you lifting correctly? Well, it's funny you ask. I actually have a track record of every workout I did. And it turns out that my relative strength improved dramatically. So I actually got stronger while eating enough protein. And, well, if we look at the progress pictures, you can visually see that I lost tremendous amounts of body fat. In fact, my waist measurement, because I took those as well, happened to go down by several inches. And you can see the visual pinching difference that I don't have much fat around the waist anymore. However, my arms seem to be roughly the same size, maybe lost 1/4 of an inch, but they're noticeably leaner. Now, if we looked at all that and I saw that I was in a deficit over time, I was depleted when I went in that day. I was fasted and depleted from glycogen and water stores in my muscle. And so it fooled the DEXA scan, which then told me that I had actually lost tons of muscle in the process, when the reality is I sustained nearly all, if not all, of my muscle mass in this process of cutting 15 to 18 pounds and got extremely lean. In fact, I was probably closer to around a 7 or 8% body fat based off several different pictures and comparisons of other people at the same body fat percentage. So had I gone straight off of the body fat calculator that was supposedly so accurate, I would have been extremely discouraged. But luckily, if you're able to take account of these different factors that I mentioned, like I just presented to you in a real life scenario that happened with myself. By the way, you can go ahead and see the videos of the DEXA scan and me debunking it through all that. And like I said, you can watch the series of me actually doing everything that I said, measuring everything, staying on point, dialed in, gaining strength, etc. Then it's pretty obvious as to why this is the most accurate way to know and be confident that you're building muscle or sustaining it while you're trying to reach your goals. Okay, so that is pretty much that for the video. I hope that you found this one helpful, and if you have any other questions regarding this, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to clarify it for you if need be. Also, let me know what other topics you'd like to see, because I love your input and I love making content that you want to see. So be sure to do that as well. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe so you don't miss the videos that drop every single week, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. I'm out.